Hiya, and welcome back to Cleaved, the game that teaches us that the best method to get a vacation is to have a critical machine failure and fall into a black hole that the machine caused. Oh, don't worry about it. Anyways, let's just hop right in. And huge news, huge news. My saves aren't corrupted. It'll probably be later. And you must be the interesting fellow my guards captured. Yeah, after stream, it's going to be like a just chatting stream, not a game stream. I look up at the wolf's paw. With bated breath, I reach out and grasp it. His digits form a seal around my palm, and he effortlessly pulls me up to my feet. It's surprising. I've felt the strength of many people since walking through that gate, but this wolf in particular had some serious power tucked in his form. Oh, hi. Well, hello to you too. Should I just go ahead and do it? Should I just go ahead and do it? Fuck it, I'm gonna go ahead and do it. Yes, this is the new update. Yeah, I know. I know how all these work. Yeah. Well, hello to you too. I carefully watch his mannerisms as he takes a neutral stance in the doorway. In response, I try to get my thoughts in order. I'm sorry, I'm still a little groggy from everything that's happened. Take a minute to compose yourself. You're going to need it. I do as he says and take a deep breath, nodding at him to let him know I'm ready to continue. I'd normally have the council screaming bloody murder about how unbecoming it is for a king to come to such a place. But given the special nature of your case, I couldn't help myself from overseeing this one personally. Is it really that weird to have a strange visit? What did he say? Wait, did you say king? The one and only. It's not a Discord stream, it's still going to be a Twitch stream. And I'm sorry, what? 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 He lets out a confident chuckle, the perfect accompaniment to his boast. After firmly resting upon his gut, he composes himself and glares me down. But yes, I am King Calder Fimbleson, first and only of my lineage. What? Hi, happy birthday. What? What? That's what you're focusing on, his nipples. Cats, instead of focusing on the fact that he is the king, you are focusing on his left nipple. Wow. Fuck. And you have found yourself in my kingdom, Oxheimer. Oh yeah, it does look cool. Wait, did Haps do the art? Did Haps do the art? I think he did. Yeah, I think Haps did the art. Looks amazing. Well, yeah, I kind of figured that last part. Though unintentional, his bravado drops my presumption. With the blush forming on my face, I watch him try to pick himself back up. Oh, I do suppose that's a little obvious now, wasn't it? He once again lets out another chuckle, downplaying his embarrassment before taking a quick stretch. He also gives me Amicus vibes, and I love it. How's about you tell me a little more about yourself then, Scoffer? Yeah. Thank God they had that little thing here. That little thing right there. Yes, that's tits you see. You're seeing correctly. Those are his tits. Why are we focusing on the nipples? Because why not focus on the nipples? I never thought I would say that sentence. The smirk on his face reappears as he looms in, looking down at me and tilting his head around to see my sides. Well, I'm Bryn. You've said that I'm in your kingdom, but I don't really know where that is. I reckon I'm lost, and I don't... The wolf, in his viewing of me, presses his muzzle close to my body, giving me a sniff with his wide, damp snout. What are you doing? I know. Oh, I'm trying to get your scent. See if it's familiar to me. I assure you that we haven't met. I'm not sniffing you for that reason, Smar. I'm just curious if I'd be able to tell where you came from based on it, although... Can't imagine it's somewhere too pleasant. You smell like you could do with a long shower. Fucker just went up to our side and went... Remind me to never do that again. He backs away and continues to circle me, getting a good look at my back. Well, that's an interesting garment, Bryn. I feel him grab the bottom of my lab coat and pull it up. A cold draught of wind shoots up my spine, now on full display for the wolf. Hey! I pull away quickly and spin at the tips of my toes to look back at him. Oi, perv! What are you staring at? What do you mean? It's not like there was anything to look at. I let out an involuntary gasp and the wolf across me blushes as he realizes what he said.
Damage.
No. I would never even consider doing that. I'm not even interested in males like that. What? What? This man! He's definitely gay. He is definitely gay. He says he's not into males. Guess what? Amicus said the same fucking thing. And look how that turned out. I'm not even interested in males like that. If anything, you're the pervert for insinuating that. Oh, sure, 'cause that makes sense. Might I suggest you two get a room? A stranger's voice shouts down from the floor above, interrupting our conversation. Calder spins on his heel and his hackles raise, voice now bitter as he barks out. Silence, Fanja! I feel like I'm butchering this, even though we have a pronunciation. I feel like I'm butchering this. His face is bright red, and I can only imagine mine is matching, given how flushed in the face I feel. He lets out an awkward and contagious laugh, and I reluctantly join him in his hysterics. The wolf sighs before speaking. I do apologize for that, Bryn. I really should carry myself better, but it's hard not to contain my excitement. It feels like 10 winters have passed since I've been able to see someone from beyond our lands. Much less someone as interesting looking as you. Ah, I see. Well, I suppose it's alright. I'm just a bit jumpy given everything that's happened. I'm going to assume you're also someone who's never seen a human before, correct? Aye. Throughout all my travels, I've never seen a creature as naked as you. Phrasing. Ah, someone else who doesn't know what a human is. I sigh and rub the back of my neck. I'd say I'm surprised, but at this point, it feels like it should be expected. It's the default name. Hey now, how many people have you actually met so far? Well, I've met a few. There were those two guards to start, Njal and Knud. Nud. Yanal and Nude. But that wasn't a bad attempt by any means. Our ass is going to be used as drums. Send nudes. That's literally the pronunciation for that name, Nude. But that wasn't a bad attempt by any means. I don't know if he's just a doctor for the city folk, but there was that wolf who patched me up. I was told you have some funny words for our terms. Would you happen to be talking about Vern? The Lakener? Yes, that's the one. Oh, and obviously I've met Skjold. He's actually been the most helpful out of everyone I've met so far. Aye, he's a good wolf, that's Skilled. Him and Gear are like brothers to me. He used to kick my ass when I was a pup. Till I got bigger than them, of course. Nudes of Calder. Oh no. The wolf, gleeful, gives me a big flex, granting a demonstration of his firm belly, large pectorals, and muscular arms. This feels strangely unbecoming of a king, and yet I can't help but blush. I turn away to compose myself, and the wolf puts his arms back down. He opens his eyes to look at me again. Oh, I heard that other name. A guard mentioned it to Skilled as we were walking over to the cells. He's one of those housecarls, right? It's pronounced Huskjarl, but yes, that's correct. Those two are my shield and spear, some of my most trusted confidants and allies, and they can keep up with me at the tavern. He moves again and lets out a belly laugh. I can't help but chuckle at the wolf's humor. I didn't meet him, but Skilled seemed really happy to hear he was back from whatever he was doing. Yeah, those two have a real special bond. Their parents were friends before they were born, so it was only natural they'd be introduced as pups. They stuck together ever since. Listen, Gear's traveling days rival my own, so it's entirely possible he might have seen a human before. If not, well, there are thousands of other cities we can refer you to, that is, if the trial goes well. He says the last part just under his breath. A growing concern comes to mind, but before I can respond, I hear the faint footsteps of another individual ascending the stairs. King Calder?
Always watching.
Ah! Oh, of course they would send him. Herseer Sayor. Grand Herseer Sayor, to what do I owe this truly great pleasure? Ah! I watch in shock as an older wolf walks into the now crowded cell and swiftly delivers a quick smack to the king's rump. Oh, I'm sorry. Titties? Wait, what? Titties? Okay. I can't help but laugh at the wolf's sudden jolt, but I quickly turn my glance to the older one. Now, don't you sass me, boy. You know as well as I do that I don't care for that fancy talk when we're not in front of the rest of the council. Okay, my apologies, uncle. He too laughs at the older wolf's antics, despite the blush still on his face. What? I watch him lean in and whisper to him. Do me a favor and try not to embarrass me in front of the human, though. I've got a reputation to uphold, after all. The old wolf rolls his eyes before looking over to me. So, this is the fabled creature that's caused so much gossip and deliberation amongst our walls. Scrawnier than I had anticipated. Despite his comments, I didn't shrink from him, and I instead meet his gaze. His status would imply a factor of intimidation. However, the way he's spoken and acted with Calder gives a sentiment that he's not like the others. He shoots me a smile before crossing his arms and looks me up and down. You got a name, runt? It's Bryn. Bryn, huh? I like it. Now then, Bryn, has my bumbling oaf of a nephew explained to you that the council has been waiting for your trial for nearly half an hour? The larger wolf behind him looks to the side, trying to hide his embarrassment from getting sidetracked. He did not. I apologize for... There's nothing for you to apologize for, my boy. You, however... He looks back over to Calder with a scathing and disappointed look. Oh, but uncle, Calder, you are king now. Right? No, I simply... You can't afford to be making mistakes like this! His tone increased with the frustration of Calder trying to justify his actions. I thought back to the nature of them and understood his true intentions. The council will be furious. You already know about the distaste for your ascension due to your age. Do you really want to add more? He delayed informing me to help me. He turned to me as I cut him off. I woke up and I was panicked and disoriented. Calder took the time to calm me down and explain where I was and help me recall the events I've done up until now. I would think it would be the sign of a wise ruler who can set aside personal missions to share such compassion. even if that compassion was to ensure I'd be conscious and responsive for whatever you have in store for me. While speaking out of turn may come back to haunt me, I'm reassured by the larger wolf. He gives me a sympathetic look as it appears I've given him an opening to speak. Did you really plan this, or is this just your luck shining on you? Uncle, I know you perceive me as nothing but an oaf, but I assure you that I have the best intentions of both the human and the council in mind. We wouldn't be able to give him a fair trial if he wasn't in the right state of mind. Which, I'm sure you already know, would continue to hinder our relations with some of the public. Furthermore, he must be able to give satisfactory answers to the council, so we can reach a mutual decision on what is to happen to him. Now, if you're done berating me... He shoves past the old wolf to get in front of me. Apologies that we have to cut our conversation so short, Bryn, but my uncle is correct, and we must move forward. I'll explain what's going to happen as we walk to the royal hall. After you, uncle. Looking a bit deflated, Sayor steps out of the cell and lets out a sigh. Calder grabs both my hands by the wrists and lifts them up so that they can be found in a set of iron shackles. Believe me, it's more for their safety than my own. I'm confident that if we came to blows, I could handle myself just fine. The wolf shoots me a wink as if to let me know that, although he's gotten serious, it hasn't distracted from his carefree personality. As I step out, I can see that the older wolf has already walked off, getting a head start on the descent. This leaves me and the king in a somewhat state of privacy as we continue to talk. Thanks, for stepping in like that. His head is off to the side, avoiding my gaze as I look to meet him in conversation. Don't mention it. Thanks for giving me that time to get ready for, well, whatever's going to come next. I take a few steps over to the stairwell and begin to walk down them, hearing the faint patter of footsteps behind me as Calder catches up. Do you know what a trial is? Do you have those where you come from? Yes, we do, and I'm familiar with the premise. Do I get a lawyer? Well... His pauses throw me, and I look back at him. Does this word have another meaning for them? Sorry, I should probably elaborate. Where I come from, a lawyer is someone you can hire to advocate and represent you when you're brought forward in a trial. Like explaining things to you, pleading your case, just someone who tries to help you. Oh, and here I was thinking you were asking for some kind of drink. What?! I'm gonna have to stay hydrated for this. Hydrate. He laughs, and while I do find it endearing, I don't let it detract from the seriousness of my inquiry. Well, I've never heard of that term until today, but I think there may be some merit to that. I have to do a lot of these now that now that I'm in charge of giving kings his deliberation. My eyes widen as I hear the wolf mention his father. I catch a glimpse of his ears drooping as he says this, but he quickly corrects himself and continues. But having someone who can reassure the person in our hall is informed and understand the case specifics would save us a lot of time. He gives me a smile, but I can only ponder how genuine it is given his prior statement. That interesting idea aside, no, we do things a little differently. While I may be king, my power is not absolute. My people believe in a sovereignty where I'm the one that rules over them, though I have a select number of individuals that serve as my royal council. These individuals reside over a particularly important foundation that help us govern and maintain the standards of our kingdom. They also serve to give me advice and have the ability to oppose me if enough members of the council are in agreement. Oh, I see. So, while you have a monarchy, it's not solely your decision on the actions your kingdom takes. Precisely. We are a proud people, but many kings before me have been wise enough to know that they cannot be an expert in every field. Hence, why we have these individuals to help us in the areas we might be lacking in. For instance, while I may be able to tell you how to swing a battle axe or how to get the best pint, where to get the best pint from, I couldn't tell you fuck all about how to plant and maintain crops. That's why I have Fisk. He's in charge of our agriculture. Due to him being so knowledgeable, he's been part of our council for many years. He's given valiant updates and so much help during hard times. Just looking at this place, I can imagine there must be a lot of mouths to feed. It makes sense to have someone knowledgeable close to the guys in charge, especially one that knows how to feed so many people. Is he also going to be at the trial? Yes, any trial brought before the king will have all council members in attendance. It is necessary for us to reach a successful outcome. That's not to say we don't get the odd petty argument that comes before us. For instance, I had these two older wolves come to seek King's deliberation. One was upset at the other, claiming that she had not been given her charge when she purchased some bread from the other's bakery. Oh god, how did that end up turning out? He lets out a snicker under his breath. I entertained them for 5 minutes before I realized that it was going nowhere. Seeing Sayor enter the room, I had the old man fulfill his duties of social relations and had him step in to oversee it for me. That poor wolf was stuck in there for an hour before they got to the bottom of it. His snicker turns into a full-blown howl of laughter, and even I couldn't help myself from joining in. Once we composed ourselves, a question was still left on my mind. So, Sayor has the role of social relations? Sayor, and yes, my uncle is in charge of social relations and diplomacy. It extends to the civilians of our own city and relations with our neighboring kingdoms and cities. He's been the head of diplomacy for many moons, long before I was born. And despite what you may have seen in there, there is no one in my life that I trust more than him. Yeah, that's totally not going to bite you in the ass. His honest sentiment was heartwarming to witness. He's lucky to have someone he trusts to be in charge of such a demanding area of expertise. So he'll also be sitting in on the trial. Who else can I expect there, Calder? Well, you've already met me and Sayor. Do you remember how we discussed Vern and his role? I'm not going to be able to say it, but yes, I remember he works as a doctor. Well, the Lakener aren't just one singular person. There are many scattered across the kingdom designed to help our citizens. It would be chaos if we left them to their own devices, though. As such, we decided it would be beneficial to have a centralized Lakener, a council member who's proven capable of representing the consensus of our healers. Someone to make sure their advice and knowledge is taken into consideration. The position is currently held by Holm. He's a younger wolf, around my age. I still remember the council heavily questioning my judgment when I appointed him. They thought his age was a cause for concern, but I must say I've always admired him for his intellect. I see, so this Holm is a sort of medicinal representative? It certainly can't be anything to scoff for someone his age. Makes sense for someone who's knowledgeable and trustworthy to be in this position. I'm glad you can see where I'm coming from. Say, does Vern happen to report to this Holm? Almost all Lakener do. In fact, it's my understanding that they have conducted work together in the past. To be fair to them, they have made some impressive strides in improving the quality of our care. As a matter of fact, that green concoction they applied to your leg was one of the first things Holm designed and brought into creation. Took him a couple weeks, but it is a lifesaver when training gets rough. I watch him laugh as I think back to how well that medicine worked. He's certainly someone I'd like to meet. My mind recalls that wolf that Vern had mentioned. I didn't think it was in my best interest to mention him to Skjold after our talk, but maybe. Calder, when Skjold took me to Vern and we were talking, he mentioned to me a wolf called Heim. He said I might be of some use to him, being an academic and all. Is he part of this council too? He pouts. Begrudgingly. He was one of the first council members my father had appointed when he took the throne. I respect him for his abilities, but that's just about it. It was months I need to read better. What's he in charge of? Heim is head of Heim is head of agriculture. He and his associates have helped with the designing and creation of the kingdom's buildings, amenities, King Calder, with all due respect, don't you think it's time to cut the chit-chat so we can begin? Honestly, does that boy know how rude it is to leave us waiting? Sayor throws him a look, and the wolf can't help but silently agree. I watch as the two wolves open the heavy door with minimal effort, allowing us to step through the Grand Royal Hall. It has been months. I honestly don't know anymore. To the Grand Royal Hall. Oh. The echoes of the arguing council grew quieter, and we began to march to the front of the room. Aside from the two next to me, I see 4 wolves standing by an assortment of chairs. As I look to them, they return the gaze and individually assess me as I do the same. My eyes are immediately drawn to a particular pair of wolves. They share the same dirty blonde fur color, yet the statures were vastly different. The bigger of them had the smaller and a pretty strong headlock. Their frantic movements indicate me that they were trying with all of their strength to break out of the grasp. Yeah. Oh, so here's the wraith that caused all this fuss. Lady Astrid. My ears perk at the title given to her by one of the fellow council members. I watch as the shorter wolf finally escapes her grasp and runs to the other side of the room to get away. Would you be so kind as to not torment Lord Holm, even if he is your sibling? Come now, can a girl not simply tease her brother? It's not my fault if he is as scrawny as the prisoner Heim. Am not. How about you go down there and find out, Phalon? Enough, both of you! A large pale-furred wolf breaks out to the foreground of the council and continues to scold the siblings. Need I remind you of your positions? No? Then take your seats and remain silent till we begin. Okay. His protruding belly does a lot to help him barge his way through the conversations and bellow out orders. The two of them lock eyes and proceed to roll them, before turning around and taking a seat at either side of the podium. As elegant as always, Herr Sir Heim. Oh, please. You could rein them in better, Sayor. I encourage you to do so. The large wolf scoffs and turns, walking to his chair before finally sitting down, the chair creaking in dismay. Fisk, is there any update on Njord's whereabouts? Njord. I believe his glance over to a tall gray wolf humbly leaning over a table. He turns around with a cup in his paw and proceeds to take a seat next to Holm. He apologizes for the wait on his part, Heim. He informed me that he's just finishing a meeting with some traders. He shouldn't be too long. With 4 of the 7 seats filled, Sayor begins to walk over to the final chair on the left. All of them, his chair is closest to what I would consider a throne, serving as a centerpiece of this room. While I'm admiring the view, a set of footsteps are heard in quick succession approaching the hall. Turn to the source of these noises only to see 3 wolves walk in. Yeah, it's Fisk. I'm saying Fisk, although I'm probably butchering it. Oh my god, Telegram! Shut the hell up. Shut the hell up, Telegram. Upon closer inspection, it is clear the 2 of them are adorned in the standard guard uniforms that I had seen when I first walked into the city. The 2 of them approach and take me by the chain, connecting my wrists together and set me on some kind of stand. As I am held in full view of the council members, I can see the 3rd wolf walk up to one of the chairs. It is apparent that he must be the final council member that the other wolves had been discussing. He immediately stands out with his onyx fur, clashing with his garment choice. His outfit is decorated and adorned with fine fabrics and jewelry. Like Fisk? Undertale? Yeah, it's Fisk, not Frisk.
Yeah.
Though I can see what you mean. Nice of you to finally join us, Njord. He seems disgruntled, but the wolf doesn't let it bother him. Oh, I'm sorry. Seiti, you know how caught up I can get. Stop that. What do you mean, tired of being my Seiti, huh? Just because I'm not married does not mean I'm looking. Fine. Asteenman. He shoots the large wolf a flirtatious glance that sends him into a rage. That's it! My initial impression of the council drops expectedly as I watch Heim fly off into a rage over the wolf's flirtatious banter. With him distracted, Astrid leads forward in her chair and begins making threatening hand gestures towards her brother, who in turn mouths some kind of obscenity to her. She nearly gets out of her chair to join the potential brawl Heim may be having. Sayor and Fisk simply bring a paw to their foreheads as they slowly try to regain some control of the situation. My eyes wander over to Calder. The wolf speaks to the guard, seemingly ignoring the situation before they give him a nod and begin to walk away. Having finished this, he takes his seat on the throne. My voice does little across the arguments. Excuse me. I fail for the 2nd time and my frustration grows. Calder seems to be doing little to calm the situation, so I repeat myself. Excuse me! I raise my hands to my mouth, blushing as the echoes repeat back to me. In an instant, all the wolves go quiet and have their eyes on me. Expressions a mix of shock, scorn, or appreciation. So it does speak! And here I was thinking it was too meek to do so. He's got quite the set of lungs on him. Maybe he can outdo your skill in barking orders. As if. Njord laughs as Heim gives him a look of annoyance, as he only just realized what he agreed to. In all fairness, the creature is right to interrupt us. We do have a trial to conduct. That's the smartest thing that's been said in this hall all day, Lord Holm. King Calder, while I understand we have been fortunate to finish our duties for the day, some of us still have other tasks to get to. Is it possible that we may begin? Of course. Lords and Lady of the Council, before us today you will find the human, Bryn. Bryn was spotted entering the city gates yesterday. Upon entry, he was confronted by 2 guards on duty appointed to the area by Huskjarl Skjold. Guardsman Nala Nud confronted the human, stating he was under arrest for trespassing and potential concerns of being a threat to the kingdom. As I'm sure everyone here is already aware, this has been the standard practice of our guards after the recent threats we have been facing from enemy kingdoms. Now, from evidence that has been submitted before the council, I must state that the human has incurred some goodwill. That last statement gives me hope. Despite my surrender, it was intimidating to know the sheer gap in status. To begin, I must state that the council should be aware that out of everyone who has been questioned, no one has been able to identify the human's land of origin. His species is completely unknown to me. The council takes turns deliberating, and they all agree that they have never seen a human before either. As such, it is reasonable to assume he was unaware of our customs. Despite this confusion, it is noteworthy that the human did not run away when presented with an opportunity to flee. The murmurings continue as the robust wolf locks eyes with me. He prods Calder's statement. How could he have escaped? Our favorite outlaw happened to be on the scene. That bastard! Why am I not surprised? No, you know as well as I do that he has a nasty habit of constantly sticking his nose in things that don't concern him. That said, we're not concerned with the actions of the fox. Rather, we're here to discuss the humans. Was there any hesitation, sire? Do you have anyone who can attest to the human sting put by choice? As a matter of fact, there is. We have questioned Wolven and non-Wolven citizens alike, and the common element in all their stories is that the human chose not to run. Instead, he took a submissive stand to ensure a smooth arrest. Unfortunately, this was something that wasn't able to be done civilly. Murmurs break out once again as Calder fails to elaborate on his statement, prompting the ever-boisterous Heim to cut across the conversations. Would you care to elaborate, your highness? Despite Bryn surrendering, the same witnesses that have been able to attest that the guards on duty got a little out of hand. Panic spread throughout the district, and after the fox had been sighted, it appears they got a bit carried away. Were the civilians okay? We've had the guards check, Lord Holm. I'm happy to share that, aside from some worry, everyone is fine. Do elaborate on them getting carried away. Well, it appears that after the humans surrendered, the guards threatened violence. The two were interrupted by civilians calling them out and making them hesitate. We actually have Huskjarl Skjold to thank. Reports indicated a pending riot, which prompted him to send himself and more guards to contain the area. Lady Astrid looked across the seating, directly at Calder. How did he proceed in doing so? From the report, Skjold informed me that he'd actually chastised the 2 guardsmen. They remained aggressive with him despite his surrender, which prompted spectators to call it the actions of Njal and Nud. Yanal and Nud. The actual clash stemmed from Wolven civilians trying to support the guards' decision. But I must agree with Skjold's actions. In his own statement, he expressed that he is actually responsible for the panic that spread as well. Sayor leans forward and glares at Astrid, to which she returns with a snarl. Something to say, you old coot? Just that a Mikha like you was lucky to have that boy keeping the guards in check. How dare you! Silence! Calder's shout echoes across the hall louder than anyone else, who has raised their voice in here today. Uncle, that was simply uncalled for. I demand that you apologize this instant. He removes his glance from Calder. While he doesn't look too happy to do so, he gives in and apologizes to his fellow council member. A satisfied grin is plastered on her face, but it's quickly shattered by Calder. Don't think you're innocent either, Lady Astrid. I'd ask you to refrain from such comments in the future. She initially rolls her eyes, but nods her head as the squabble is quashed. Now, if you two require deliberation on a separate matter, we can do so after we have finished the current trial. Quite right, your highness. Now if I'm not cutting anybody off. Human, why did you choose to stay? I mean, it does surprise me that a dashing rogue comes to you with the promise of freedom, only for you to run the risk of arrest. Well, it certainly wasn't a planned decision. I'm very lost and a bit disoriented, and I tried weighing up my options. I just thought it would be better for me to surrender so that I could explain myself and potentially get some help. I didn't anticipate the guards being as aggressive with me as they were, but I am very grateful to Skilled. Your Highness, was there anything in the report as to what happened after Skilled had taken over? We have a full transcript of the events that happened, though you're more than welcome to ask the human that yourself, Lord Holm. He gives an awkward laugh. His cheeks turn a light pink while scratching the back of his head as he looks over to me. I give him a warm smile in response. He's sweet. Human, as the king has so elegantly put it, would you care to explain what events occurred after Skilled had taken you? After he'd taken me, he did a quick assessment of me. I'd calmed down by that point, and after the adrenaline ran out, we both took note of how banged up I looked. He decided to reward me for my surrender and thought it'd be best if I went to go see one of those... Lake Nor? Is that how you say it? Some chuckles erupt from the council at my attempt, save for Holm, who gives me a nod. I see. So you went to see one of my Lake Nor. Did it happen to be Vern? Yes, it was. I hope the medication was to your satisfaction. It certainly was. It worked wonders. I'm glad. I was very proud of that, but... While we do appreciate your talent and inventions, Lord Holm, we are trying to stay on topic. My apologies. Human, please continue. After Vern had patched me up, Skilled had informed me that he had wanted me alive for some kind of test. To my knowledge, it was his way of seeing if the claims I had been making had any honesty to them. He's still doing his stupid test of character. That test is proof his intuition is unmatched. You do well to remember that, considering it helps you maintain this position, Lady Astrid. All I'm saying is that are we willing to bet the safety of the kingdom to one wolf's gut instinct? Provided there is more information that could change our opinion, Lady Astrid, it is a possibility. Your Highness, is there more to share? Yes, there's one more thing I'd like to share. After speaking with Skilled, he informed me that the human isn't actually a scholar, and quite a talented builder at that. Heim's eyes practically bulge out of their sockets upon hearing this information, as the rest of the council soon follow his lead. Now, Bryn, Skilled has also told me that you've expressed interest in working alongside us in exchange for helping you personally with a particular issue. What kind of issue, sire? Supposedly the human is experiencing some mild amnesia and can't seem to find his way home. Bryn, are the claims I'm making so far correct? You speak the truth. I am very lost, but discussions with Skilled have left me confident you can help me, provided I am given the opportunity. I'm not opposed to helping you in any way that I can, if it means I can guarantee your support in trying to find my way home. If the statements you've made today are true, I am not opposed to helping you in the slightest. However, it will be the council's decision whether you go free today, not just my own. The staunch reminder that I am baking on opinions of many individual council members to go free is a large annoyance. I refuse to let it affect my outward appearance, though. I understand. I still thank you in advance if we are able to reach such a beneficial decision. Beneficial? Bah! You claim these things, human, but do you have any proof to back them up? He looks at Calder with a questioning stare. Sire, I know you value Skilled's opinion, but I must give Lady Astrid's previous qualms some thought. Do you even do any research into this claim? He sits there smugly, thinking he's caught me in some kind of lie. However, Calder shatters his assumption by pulling a long rectangular-shaped box. As a matter of fact, he did. That just before they had reached the spire, the human had fallen over, not feeling too well. During this exchange, this device fell out of the human's pocket. Skilled had then taken it for inspection, out of fear it could be some kind of weapon. Some of the council back away from the king. God, I didn't even notice it fell out of my pocket. Britain, what kind of device is that? I've tried to use it as some sort of weapon, but I can't get past making the front of it light up. His oversized paws dwarf my phone, and it's kind of amusing to watch him interact with it. That would be a phone, Your Highness, and it isn't a weapon. It's a device that my people made in order to communicate from long distances. It's changed a lot since then, though. For instance, my phone is able to do much more than just talk to people. Fascinating. Is it possible for you to show us, human? Unfortunately, I can't. I haven't been able to get it to work since I woke up in the forest. Some skepticism is passed around, but I focus on Calder. He seems particularly perplexed by the information I had shared. Heim, this device sounds awfully similar to... Heim gives him a stare, and that immediately cuts his statement short. Before I can ponder it myself, Heim immediately goes on questioning me again. Human, you said your people made this. Are we to take it that as you did not? You'd be correct, but I did personalize it and make a lot of changes to it myself. I see. What can you build, then? The rest of the council may take you at your word, but I'd like to know what you could handle, if we do give you the opportunity. I'm having a bit of trouble trying to remember the exact thing I was building back home, but I do know how to work heavy metals and wiring. Do you know what wiring is? Of course I do. Who do you think is responsible for the lanterns throughout the districts? I hadn't really had the time to think about that from the short time I'd been in these lands. Now that you mention, I'm immensely curious how they work. The Onyx Wolf is now sitting in his chair sideways, lounging on the armrest to amplify his dramatic rendition of a complaint. Respectfully, some of us have lives to get on with. Is it possible for you to save the scholar talk until after we finish the trial? Thank you, Lord Njord. If I'd hear any more of this, I'd consider turning an axe on myself. Please, will you two behave yourselves? King Calder, if there's nothing else to discuss, may we move on to giving our votes. I have no more information to submit before you all, so by all means, please proceed with your sentencing. While I understand that we all have immense trust for that large oaf, I am not willing to risk everyone's safety on a hunch. I say the human should remain imprisoned until we can fully survey the situation. Maybe we can do our own research into his kind privately so we can be sure of his allegiances. I'm inclined to agree with Lady Astrid. An extended prison sentence for the human wouldn't do any harm to us in the long term. With more research into his kind, there's no telling what we could uncover about his allegiances. Provided we find who he's in bed with, he could be a powerful asset to use. By the gods, does everything you say have to be some form of innuendo? You and I both know that's not how that's said. The two's banter causes twins to chuckle, and a shiver runs down my spine, realizing what he meant. A spark of hope appears as the smallest wolf stands from his chair and meets my eyes. King Calder, this human has entered our lands with no obligation to follow our customs, but has chosen to do so at every turn. Not only has he captured civilian support, but he's also acquired the trust of one of this kingdom's most trusted confidants. Based on this, I simply must state the human should be allowed to go free, be it either to wander our lands or to leave them freely. I trust you for your openness, Lord Holm. Thank God for this wolf! While I wasn't in the clear just yet, I was certainly appreciative of one of them being positive of giving me freedom. I take a minute to analyze the remaining council members who have yet to speak, and I'm left fearful as Heim takes the floor. It's not that often that I find myself agreeing with Lord Holm. The blonde wolf's hopeful eyes quickly diminish and is replaced with a frown. However, he does raise a valuable point. The human has followed our customs and offered his assistance and talents, in exchange for what I consider a paltry amount of service. As a businessman, I do believe in equal trade. As such, I don't think it would be responsible just to allow the human to walk around for free. He takes his eyes away from Calder and looks directly at me. Human, I would like to offer you the opportunity to come work at one of my warehouses. I'll give you the chance to show us what you can do. There's notable value in your work. I will happily report back to the council to help with your request. Provided that is a decision that can be reached with everyone here. Didn't expect such an open-ended suggestion from the chubby wolf, but I'm certainly not complaining. Human, do you think it's possible for you to build things that will benefit all members of this kingdom? Perhaps some improvements to the agricultural district? I'm always interested in potential talent from the Wolven scholars, but I'm not opposed to looking at outside sources of knowledge. Heim already has some money makers. This is something you can do. I would like to second his suggestion of equivalent trade. I can certainly try my best. So long as you have the supplies and a rough idea of what you'd like, feel free to put me to work. I stare at him confidently as the votes are now tallied between imprisonment and freedom at an even ratio. As he finishes, I look to the center of the king in his right hand. As always, my king, I stand with you. Whatever decision you think is best, you'll have my support. Thank you, Herr Sir Sayor. Human, as a traveler myself, I can understand what it's like to end up in lands that you may not expect. I too know the confusion that may come from not knowing the laws of the land you travel. Fucking right? He stands from his throne and looks down at me. However, I thank you for still putting your trust in our ways, and I must agree with the assessment of character Skjold has given me. I personally don't sense dishonesty in your words. A few of them smile in response to my composed outward appearance as I continue to keep the king's gaze. While I may be worried, I try to stand strong as they deliver the sentencing. In addition to your willingness to the work proposal, I will be enacting this with the majority vote of the council. However, with the clause that if any of the testimony you've given today proves to be false, we will reconvene to look into alternative options for you. King Calder, I mean no disrespect, but is that it? You question the king even after the decision was supported by the majority? No, Sayor. King Calder, with all due respect, there needs to be some form of protective measure to accompany this decision. Regardless of how some may feel about him, if we let him run wild, we risk both his safety and the civilians. The skeptics may not agree with our decision, which might make them take deliberation to their own midst. That, and if the human has lied, I don't want to imagine what he could get up to. What would you propose, Lady Astrid? Summon the Jaeger. You can't be serious, he's just gotten back. And he's one of the best people we have for this job. Give him the day to recuperate, and then he can be appointed as the Watcher of the Human. Would any of you care to agree? I do have to agree with my sister, Your Highness. It's one of the best options we have to ensure the safety of the citizens. I concur. Having him watch over the human will ensure we have constant updates of what he's doing. This will settle any of our curiosities into whether human stories are true. King Calder, I know you have concerns for the physical state of the lad, but I've had him work on my farms. I can't think of a single other wolf in this kingdom that has half the stamina he does. I can't say I really care, but if it means he's got someone who can keep him on track and getting to and from the factories on time, I'll agree. That quiet fucker isn't allowed in, though. They do raise a valiant point, my liege. I'm sure he'll be fine with the task. Calder takes a deep breath before slouching into his chair, clearly a bit irritated with his arrangement. I grow a bit wary thinking about who they could possibly have in mind to do such a task. But my thoughts are interrupted as Calder stands from his chair. Fine, I will speak to Huskiarl Gear and have him personally sign to the protection, monitoring, and reporting of the human and his activities. He looks over to the guards next to me before speaking. Guards, please remove the shackles from the human's wrists. Right on cue, one of the guards approaches me and unlocks the weights. I rub my wrist to get some feeling in it again, watching the wolf as he turns to the council. As always, I thank you for your attendance and assistance today. The human will be handed into my custody personally as a wait for Gear to recover. Dismissed. The council members stand up slowly and make their respective exits out of the hall. Calder hangs back for just a moment to finish talking to his uncle, before finally making his way over to me. You held your ground there really well, human. I'm very impressed. There's a slight wagging at his tail as his mouth curls into a smile. I hope the outcome is as good as you expected. I know it must have been quite scary at parts, especially with Heim being as investigative as he was. Well, forgive me for being thorough. Both jump out of our skin. Despite being such a large and boisterous wolf, he can be pretty quiet when he feels a need. Lord Heim, my apologies. I thought you left after we concluded the meeting. Well, I was about to, but in case you forgot, you gave me a permission to come work for me. I need to sort out some business with him in order to make sure that can happen. He blushes before taking a step back so that Heim can get a chance to join our conversation. To begin, I'd like to keep that device you presented to the meeting, King Calder. I would like to have my scholars personally dissect so we can see its full potential and see if it's something we can use. Calder looks over to me for a second as if looking for my permission. I ask if he can pass it over to me, to which he does, and I get a chance to examine it. I press the power button to ensure it's entirely run out. With no chance that it'll turn back on, I move on to a physical inspection of the phone. Luckily, I don't see any new scratches or scuffs, a good sign if I ever do get around to powering it back up. Yeah, that shouldn't be an issue. I can't really use it when it's dead anyway. I pass the phone into Heim's expecting paw. He grabs it and quickly slips it into a pouch, tightening the strap to deter prying eyes. Good. Now the other thing. He reaches for another pouch in the opposite hip, quickly untying the rope that's bound to the belt. He then flings it at me unexpectedly, and I scramble to catch it before it hits the floor. Curious, I look inside and see a considerable amount of gold coins piled high. I'm not really interested in having some raggedy street urchin make an appearance at one of my workshops. I have a reputation to uphold, after all. Now, I've contacted a friend of mine, a tailor in the inner district, who will ensure you have appropriate work garment. We got monies! She'll be ready for you tomorrow. Be sure to get one of your keepers to escort you promptly. I want you ready to start work with me the following day. I'm still in shock from his generosity, giving me such a large amount of money. Before I can thank him, he takes a step forward and grabs me by the collar of my lab coat, my ear close to his mouth. Now you best not disappoint me, human. I have no time for the weak and useless. He releases his grip and dusts off my shirt, before taking a step back. Human, your highness. He gives a bow to the king before turning around and storms away. Once he's finally out of hearing range, all that's left is me and the king. Is he always that intense? Damn. I can only apologize so much for him. He's a businessman first before anything else. I think he forgets that most people don't interact with people like him as often as he does. So, what's going to happen now? Calder grabs me by the wrist and gives me a tug over to his direction. I'll personally be showing you to your room. I get a room? I mean, they voted for your freedom. I'm not going to send you back to a prison cell. That damn smile is followed by a wink as he turns on his heel, holding his paw out and beckoning me to follow him. As we leave the royal hall, I'm taken through an entranceway at the back. The wolf ends up giving me an impromptu tour of his family's castle. We pass by a kitchen, a luxurious-looking courtyard, and a few rooms that I'm told are used for facility purposes. As we round a corner, Calder informs me that this particular floor has rooms dedicated to guests and people of importance visiting the kingdom. But they haven't been used in a very long time. He seems a little down at that statement, but he tries not to dwell on it as he opens the door. Should we split this into 2 streams? Serious question. Should we split this into 2 streams? Because it'll take me, like, 0 effort to. Hang on, let me see where we're at. Yeah, let me see where we're at in-game, like in the script. I'm seeing where we're at in the script. Okay. Alright, I'm checking. Left. And our current line is... We're not even halfway through the script. We're not even halfway through it. We're not even halfway through the script, so we're going to find a nice ending point, and then we're going to split this into multiple streams. I step inside, and I'm immediately blown away by the look of the room. I take this chance to look around. It's a 2-floor abode, fully equipped with multiple amenities. Out of everything in the room, I'm drawn to the settee in the lounge. As Calder fully steps inside, the door closes behind us. Now with some privacy, I shuffle over to the seat, slowly easing into it and letting out a satisfied grunt. Yeah, we're not even halfway, apparently. I hope that's to your liking, Bryn. It's amazing! This settee is so comfy! He's puzzled about my choice of wording, but quickly picks up on what I'm saying. Well, our chairs are made by excellent craftsmen. I should hope it is comfortable. He makes his way over to the chair, hops over the arm, and crashes into the opposite end of the couch. The shift in weight is very noticeable as I feel myself roll slightly in his direction. We both exhale after the stressful day we've had. My eyes snap forward after I hear some creaking, and I see the wolf put his paws up on the table, allowing himself to fully recline. I can't help but stare, as this has been my first chance to see the hind paws of a resident in this kingdom. Calder eventually picks up on my staring too. Hey, is everything alright? You're kinda His ears perk up, looking at his paws and back up to me. And they then droop down in embarrassment. Oh crap, I'm sorry, I didn't even ask if I was right. Let me take him down. No, it's okay. I mean, there's no one around. Take a load off. You sure? Yeah, go for it. He stands up from the couch, stretching his arms above his head before bringing them back down to loosen his belt. The gem droops a slight bit, and I can't help but blush as his body shifts. Ugh, that's so much better. I haven't been able to cut loose in months. Currently at Chipotle. Hey! He takes a seat next to me and puts his paws up once more. Deciding I didn't want to be the only one not relaxing, I pull my legs close to me and slowly begin to do the lacing on my shoes. I kick them off to the side of the table and join him in putting my feet up. However, it's his turn to stare this time, interested in what I was doing. Bryn, I've been meaning to ask what those things are. Can't help but giggle a slight bit at his amusement. I grab the shoes and pass them over to him. These are called shoes, Your Highness. My people wear them as foot protection so they don't get injured while doing our day-to-day tasks. I see. Interesting. Do you not have shoes here? Not like yours, no. Most of us have paws designed to handle the terrain we find ourselves in. Sometimes we'll incorporate some kind of guard to the area for on-away missions. Oh, and I've seen some people in other lands wear these paw-like covers called sandals. I don't use mine anymore, but they were great at making sure my paws didn't burn. Well, I'm glad to hear that. I'd offer for you to try these shoes on for a test, your highness, but I think your paws are a bit too big for them. He lets out a slight chuckle before letting out a sigh. So, you know, just cause it's us, do you think you could drop the whole king routine? I get enough of it from the rest of the people in this kingdom. Oh, sure, sorry if it annoyed you. Oh no, you don't have to apologize, it's just exhausting. Sometimes when I feel like I'm not working or have some privacy, I'd like people to see Calder, not the crown. Oh shit, is it? Is it? Huh. Free feet pics. Ah! I see. Well, I promise I'll treat you just like a regular person. It's my turn to give him a smile now. An understanding mind is something I think he's hoped for, but didn't think he'd get, much less from a stranger that had been arrested upon arrival. Well, we're relaxing with Calder. With both of us being tired, an awkward silence sets in. I question whether I should try and keep the subject going, but at present I'm just happy for the non-threatening company. I look over to Calder and see the wolf holding a long, rectangular object. Get a chance to ask what it is, he points it out in front of him. Calder, what are you doing? Oh, fuck. I'm cut off as my eyes follow a line from the rectangle over to a blue screen. It flickers for a second before displaying a wanted poster of my face. The council met today in order to discuss the fate of the mysterious creature that invaded the kingdom's walls. By majority decision and with King Calder's blessing, the human Bryn has been placed into Lord Heim's care. It has been done with the intent to see if the human can back up his claims of being a scholar, and presses another button and the screen quickly changes to a new video. We already know about that. You guys have TV? TV? You mean the screens? What? What? Well, I mean, technically TV, TV came before modern phones, so... Yes! This is something we have back home that took us years to develop and get to a high standard, but I've never seen it so advanced. Oh, well, a lot of kingdoms have a setup like this. I may not know what this TV is, but the screens are a tool we have to update and entertain citizens about the local life of the kingdom's residents. It's how we share things like our culture, local news, anything really. That's amazing! Are you really that surprised? It's just that I never would have expected for the technology here to be so advanced. Heim did capture my interest when he mentioned the various lanterns throughout the districts. But I thought at most it was just some standard electrical wiring. This is on a whole other level! Fucking right. My mind races at the digitized screen in front of me. I wonder what else the kingdom has in store. Calder, how do you and your people power this? Something like this must take a lot of... Calder has a passive expression on his face as he rises from the chair, then goes on with a completely different topic, cutting me off. While I'm glad to see such a big smile on your face, I should tell you that information like that is only available to a select few people. All you need to know is that we have a way of generating energy that's assisted us in creating some unique devices that help us all immensely. He then walks around the room, heading over to the kitchen. Now, other than that, there aren't a lot of technical things in this room other than some lighting. Would you like a tour of the rest of the room while I'm here? I'd appreciate that. Where should we start? The kitchen setup is a little basic, but if you want to bring anything back from the markets, it's adequate in storing it or preparing meals here. This back room attached to is a storage closet. I'll let you use that however you need. It looks lovely. Before I can say any more, my stomach lets out a loud growl. Sorry, it's been a while since I've had something to eat. I'm a little embarrassed, but he gives me an understanding nod. It's quite alright, Bryn. I'll have someone bring you some lunch when I leave. If you need anything to eat or drink, there's a switch by the light that serves as a call function. Someone will come by and get you whatever you need. That's awfully kind, thank you. It isn't a problem. Try not to use it at the odd hours of the night, though. Nothing worse than being woken up at the moon's peak just because someone wants a chicken leg. I give him a nod and we walk over to the staircase. He lets me go first as I get a viewing of all the rooms on the second floor. You will find your bedroom at the back. There's a washroom just opposite the stairs, and then this room over here is... He stops to open the door for me. Inside the room is a single chair, desk, and a large bookshelf decorating the far right wall. There are some interesting books over there about our history, as well as a few travel books. I used to read them when I was younger, but feel free to take a look and take your pick if you get bored. You seem to know an awful lot about this room. Used to be yours or something? No, it was an old friend's room. He doesn't use it anymore. He steps back and slowly leaves the room, looking a little disheartened. I'm not long after him, but as I reach the stairs, he looks back. I'm gonna go and get someone to bring you some food. You can get comfy, maybe have a wash while you're at it. He can't help but chuckle at my expression as he backs out of the door and walks away. Now left alone to take the wolf's advice. I walk to the back and head into the bedroom. After stepping inside, I strip down to my briefs. As expected, it has a bathroom that's complete with a walk-in shower and a roll of towels stacked on a nearby cupboard. I take the last of my clothes off, step inside and turn the valves, making sure to adjust the water so it's the perfect temperature. I don't understand the full extent of how they got this set up, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't appreciate it. I see some soap tucked on a side shelf and I begin to lather myself in a surprisingly sweet floral scent. After washing myself fully, I finally have a moment to collect all my thoughts. So nice to finally get clean after all this time. Now satisfied, I step out and wrap a towel around my waist. We're going to leave off here tonight. Alright, I got some setup stuff that I need to do for the extra stream. But anyways. Stay safe. Have a good night. And I will see you all tomorrow.